Welcome to this edition of Open-SCAD by DIY3DTech.com. This episode, we're going to be taking a look at this guy here. So, in a couple of videos past on the DIY 3D Tech channel, I looked at fixing a CNC bit fan. And one of the things, I didn't know the licensing heritage of that model or what have you, so I didn't want to post it out on Thingiverse, but I did find it very handy. So I decided to go into Open-SCAD and create sort of a little simplified version of my own. So made a couple changes here, and I want to kind of walk you guys through some of this and some of the tricks I actually learned in the process of this. So one of the things I did was I used my old circle formula to create the blade. So you see here in create blades, I basically use a for loop, and then I count the number of blades, which is set in the parameters up here. So I have somewhere up here, I have blade count. Oh, here we go. So we have 6. And you see over here, I've got 6 blades. And then what I do is I set the angle of the blades here at 45 degrees. So I can play around with different angles to create different effects. Now, one of the things I did not do, I just kept these linear or straight. I think one of the neater things would be to turn them more into a foil by potentially linear extruding them. I didn't want to invest that amount of time, and frankly, I've gotten quite a bit of airflow out of this. So from this, I've doubled the number of veins in here versus the original design to give it more surface area, because that's what's going to be a function of moving air, is how much surface is going to come in contact. And if you take a look, and I'll have it linked below, the video of the original one has 3 sort of more atypical airfoil fan blades as part of it. So to make up the difference, I simply went with 6 blades to increase the surface area. I think probably about 6 is the practical maximum. I think, you know, if we go with 8, we can do that real quick. All we do is have to plug in the number 8, and you see how it really fills up, starts filling up. So you could probably go 8. I'm going to recommend 6. I mean, let's go really crazy and let's fill it up with 10. The problem is you're going to start filling in, you're going to start giving up, and I'm not an aerodynamic engineer either, but my guess is you're going to start filling up the space in here where you're going to start losing some of the air grab. So I personally think 6 is about right. And so I get good performance out of 6 because I've already built and run these. The other piece, notice the flat tops here. So this was another bit of a challenge because these are simply cubes. And so the cube turned on a 45-degree angle would result, because it's a 90-degree angle, a 45-degree angle. That makes sense. So one of the things to level off the top is I did this piece down here. So let's take a quick look. Let's throw in a pound sign, if you will. Whoops, wrong piece. That's the center hole. One down here, difference out the top. You got to read the screen, Joe. So and if I push the shift key instead. So here we go. So you notice that this cuts off the top. So I allow the obviously edges to form. I have no choice but to do that. Then I just difference them off by sandwiching this in between 2 planes. So if we take a look, and I also throw in, and I'll hit the right keys this time, you'll notice what I do is I sandwich this off. So I make this flat, and this gives it more of an airfoil design. So I've got this cutting edge here, which is important in the airfoil or rough airfoil design that I say, because it's rather crude. But anyways, it does seem to work. So those were 2 tricks that modifying the circle code up here and using these 2 to diff out the tops. So it made it a flat fan type object, was pretty good. Maybe in the future when I get time, I will work on a linear extrude to make these more of a folded airfoil. So in other words, instead of being linear, in other words, just straight down at a 45-degree angle, it will kind of taper as it goes, more of an airfoil like the fan from my other project. So anyways, tell you what, let's hop over, let's watch these print, and then we'll meet back at the bench. We'll talk about it, and I'll have some video of it in there actually running, so in the machine. So let's hop over to the printer. Okay, Okay, welcome back. So we took a look at these in the computer. We did a little bit of a time lapse of them printing, and here they are. Here's one actually on an 1/8 inch bit. And I'll put a video up in the corner, I think, of me spinning it up. The airflow on these are very interesting. As in the original version I have here with the 3 impellers, I guess I'm going to say, versus this one. I actually think this one might move a little bit more air, but I think it also has a bit increased surface area than this guy. This also seems to be a little bit more stable because even in hacking this one, there's something about in the way that the slicer, you can see the, I'm hoping I can get this in here and I might do a zoom up. You can see how cleaner the blades are versus how clean these are, and I've had to do a lot of cleanup on this because I think there's something in the model with the foil design, how this tapers gives the slicer some problems, or the resolution in the printer, but these came out really good, so I'm really happy with these, the way that this turned out. Now notice also the direction, because the blade spins in this direction, so it's catching the air, cutting the air, pulling it down. Now there might be a little bit of deflection in the surface because if you see the bottom, how it's bringing it down, how the airfoil, how it cuts and how it tapers there, versus if you look at this, it's straight. So the air is going to be cut down at the angle, if I do this right, at the angle of this. So it's going to disperse, a lot of the dust and things like that. I don't know how much it's going to actually cool, but there is quite a bit of downforce of air on this. So again, it's pretty interesting. So hopefully you found this interesting. You learned a few things or two. Get it this way so I can do a screenshot. So hopefully you learned a thing or two on this. And hey, if you did, hit me up in the comments below. Subscribe button over there, and we'll catch you in the next video. Oh, the code is this obviously on the website. Cheers.